our secretary.
It is 6:30 PM on May 5th, 2025, and this is the regular meeting of the Monroe Township Planning Board. Notice of this meeting was given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act, and a copy was posted on the second floor bulletin board in Town Hall and on the township's website. Be advised, no new item of business will be started after 10:30 PM, and the meeting shall terminate no later than 11 PM. Please note, audio and video of this meeting is being recorded in accordance with Ordinance 56, 2024. The meeting is being broadcasted live on the township's YouTube channel, and a link to view this meeting will be subsequently posted on the township website for the public to view at their convenience.
All right. I'll rise for a pledge of flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll have a roll call, Madam Secretary.
Mr. Giacomucci?
Here.
Mr. Hessel? Here. Ms. Kennedy is excused tonight. Mr. Laughlin?
Here.
Mr. Maury is excused tonight. Mr. Kozak? Here. Mr. O'Brien?
Here.
Mr. Young?
Here.
Ms. Fox?
Here.
Mr. Kurz is here in lieu of Mr. Wolf.
Here.
Thank you. Mr. Campbell?
Present.
Mr. Daphne?
Present.
And Ms. Pellegrini? Here. Thank you.
This meeting will be held in person and will be broadcast live on YouTube channel. It's right here, okay. We'll have our solicitor swear in the professionals.
Sure.
Pam, Chris, you guys want to?
Ms. Pellegrini and Mr. Dack, would you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you would provide this board is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Resolutions, our attorney will read the resolutions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So there are three resolutions for the board's consideration tonight. All three reflect and memorialize decisions you made during the April meeting. The first resolution is Planning Board Resolution 15 of 25, which is the approval of the minor site plan for MNK Properties LLC. Is there a motion?
Motion,
Second.
roll call.
Did you make the first motion, or were you asking for a motion?
Well, I asked you for a motion.
So I'll say motion.
Okay.
Ms. Fox?
Yes.
Mr. Hessel?
Yes.
Mr. Kurz?
Yes.
Mr. Kozak?
Yes.
Mr. Laughlin, were you here for that?
No.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Giacomucci?
Yes.
And Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Thank you.
The second resolution for your consideration is Planning Board Resolution 16 of 2025. It's the resolution memorializing your approval of a minor site plan, and the applicant was Kind Buds Monroe LLC.
Need a motion?
Motion. Second.
Mr.
Roll
Giacomucci?
call.
Yes.
Ms. Fox?
Yes.
Mr. Hessel?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Kozak?
Yes.
Ms. Fox?
Yes.
Mr. Kurz?
Yes.
Final resolution for the board's consideration is Planning Board Resolution 17 of 2025. The applicant was Anthony Iovino, and if you recall, this is a site plan waiver for his application to operate a coffee shop on Main Street.
Need a motion?
Make a motion to approve, Kozak.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Kozak?
Yes.
Mr. Hessel?
Yes.
Mr. Giacomucci?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Kurz?
Yes.
Ms. Fox?
Yes.
Thank you.
That's it. Next order of business is application 55 SP Joseph Garner, minor site plan. The applicant here?
Yeah, so the applicant contacted staff today and asked that this matter be adjourned and rescheduled for the board's June meeting, which I believe is June 2nd.
Correct.
And so my recommendation, Mr. Chairman, is that the board accept that request to adjourn tonight's hearing and rescheduling it for January 2nd for the public's benefit. It will not be renoticed, and the notice that we're providing right now by saying it's being rescheduled for June 2nd is the notice that is satisfactory and satisfies the requirements of law.
You heard our solicitor. I need a motion.
Motion.
Second.
You can do it all in favor.
That's what I figured. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's it. Thank you. Next order of business is application 1880, Thomas Duffy, major submission. Tom? Before we start, we'll have our solicitor swear everybody in, even our professionals.
Could you identify your potential witnesses for us?
Yes. First, good evening. My name is John Cosell. I'm the attorney for the applicant. To my left, I have the applicant himself, Thomas Duffy, and his engineer, Vlad Kolomas.
John, would you raise your right hand? Right hands. You swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide this board is the truth and nothing but the truth? Can I inquire as to your engineer so we can qualify him?
Sorry.
Your engineer's name again is?
Vladislav Kalmasa, you can call me Vlad for short.
And are you a licensed engineer?
Yes.
And have you provided testimony before this board before?
Not before this board, this is my first time, but I've done numerous testimonies throughout the three counties, King, Gloucester.
And you've been accepted as a site civil engineer by other zoning and planning boards throughout Gloucester County?
Yes.
So I would recommend that the board accept Mr. Kozlov as an expert in the area of site civil engineering.
All right, no problem.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
We're here tonight to ask for a preliminary and final major subdivision on a property on Sunny Hill Avenue. It's block 9101, lot 8, in the RR zone.
So I think we're only here for preliminary tonight.
I always throw it in.
Let's see how far we get.
One of the few times I can come up to a board and say, I don't have a whole lot to do here tonight. This is actually a by right application. We are asking for a few waivers. Our engineer will go over that directly with you because I don't talk that language. I'm going to go back to 2016. I think two people in this building were here, Mr. O'Brien and Mr. Duffy. And Mr. Duffy had made application and received final approval for this very subdivision application. Mr. Duffy, what happened in 2006?
So, well, 2006, we went for the preliminary, not the final, just to make that clear. And we received the preliminary, and obviously, time went by, and the market started crashing. The economics were harder, and obviously, it took me longer, and then we got into, the market really turned, and COVID, and just, I never got back to it. Something I've been trying to get back to for a long period of time. I opened up a business in the middle of this thing, which kind of distracted me as well, but it has always been my, obviously, the endeavor to continue this project. It was to put my mother from the street in its place where she started her whole entire career behind me, which is behind me. And I finally got the money to do all this now, and I'm starting to reach this now. I had to go through a full application all over again because I hired a new engineer to do it, so it shows that I was very invested into doing it this time, making sure it's done.
Thank you. As I mentioned, this is an 11-lot subdivision on the subject property for 10 single-family homes and an open space lot. Again, we require no use variances, no bulk variances. Vlad, if you want to address some of the waivers, or if the professionals would rather jump in with those, we have no objection.
So my recommendation would be that we ask Ms. Pellegrini to review her review as it relates to completeness first. Do we have any?
Sure. For completeness, the applicant requires and has requested a waiver of showing the cartway width of all streets within 500 feet. Do you want to take each one, or do you want to?
Yeah, so that waiver is showing details of other roads within 500 feet of this?
Partway with, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have an objection to that
No
request?
objection.
Okay. And are you reviewing your March 3rd or your March 26th?
On March 3rd.
Yep.
A preliminary stormwater management plan, when we originally reviewed, we had deemed it incomplete, but the applicant's engineer has been working with our office and has agreed to provide all of the details as outlined in all the specific details that we needed revised in our report, which is later in my report.
Okay.
So they're working with us, so they won't need any issue. There's no issue with stormwater right now.
Okay.
Also, a waiver is requested for showing the existing storm sewer lines adjacent to the development. Their stormwater doesn't commingle with adjacent stormwater, so they're asking for a waiver, and we have no objection to that waiver.
Okay.
Others are standard. If service is to be provided by an existing utility company, letters from the company should be provided. They've agreed in their response letter, they've acknowledged and agreed to provide with compliance plans, those letters. And then a copy of any protected covenants or deed restrictions should be provided with the preliminary plat. The applicant has indicated that there is none known, so there's no issue with those.
So is it fair to say that with the exception of the requirement or the need to update the stormwater plans to your satisfaction, that the applicants complied with all the comments in your letter?
That's correct.
And to the extent there are waivers requested, you don't
With the-
object?
Exactly.
All right. So I would recommend that the board deem the application complete based on that representation, based on the condition that the applicant continue to work with staff to update the stormwater management plans to their satisfaction.
You heard our solicitor, I need a motion and a second.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
You can do all in favor.
Verbal?
No, all in favor, yep.
Yeah. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That's it.
That's great, okay. Now it's,
Go ahead.
yeah. Tell us about the plan.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Again, my name is Vlad Balmasov. I'm the civil engineer with Taylor Wilson and Taylor. Just kind of want to orient everybody where we're located for people that are unfamiliar with this project or unaware of this area. So the property, as mentioned, is designated as block 9101 as lot 8, has approximately 8 acres, and is located along Sunny Hill Avenue, which is roughly 200 feet west of the intersection of Sunny Hill and Victoria Avenue. The site sits in the regional growth moderate residential district, as outlined in this current Monterey Township zoning map, and it has intended for residential development with a density of 1.25 units per acre. As mentioned before, this property had received preliminary subdivision approval for a similar project back in 2006, and it had various extensions that led up to expire in 2018. As you can see, the current conditions of the site is still undeveloped. It's a wooded area and has remained as a wooded area since that original approval. So if we want, we could number this aerial exhibit as A1 for
Yep, thank you. And that's the aerial exhibit, also known as the location map.
right. Bring your attention to the second exhibit, as A2 is the site rendering of the proposed subdivision. So again, Mr. Duffy intends to propose 10 single-family homes and 1 open space used for stormwater management. In the zone, the lot areas are permitted to be 27,500 square feet, which is roughly like 0.62 acres, and the small size lot proposed is 27,505. Again, I mentioned the density for this property is 1.25 units per acre, which you multiply that by the total parcel area of 8 acres, it comes out to 10 homes, which is applicant is proposing and was previously approved. It's a fairly simple subdivision. It's a singular road with a cul-de-sac, with a 50-foot right-of-way, with a 30-foot carway, which is permits parking on both sides of the street, and it conforms to the residential neighborhood classification for the residential site improvement standards for New Jersey. There are proposed curb and sidewalk along Mary Duffy Drive as well as Sunny Hill Avenue. One of the letters in your board professionals thing was in the township ordinance, it requires a 4-foot grass strip between the curb and the sidewalk. We had originally proposed 3 foot to give a little bit of breathing room between the sidewalk and the right-of-way. We have no problem of providing that additional foot. It just, the sidewalk just gets a little bit closer to the right-of-way, which is not a big deal. Per the RSIS, for this type of size development, the peak average daily motor vehicle traffic would generate approximately 101 trips incoming and outgoing, which is negligible impact to the nearby intersection, which would be Sun Hill and Victor Avenue, and we should not see any effective level of service for that intersection or for the overall area. Regarding the public works for trash and recycling for this development, it is anticipated to be curbside pickup by the township, and the applicant will work and coordinate with the Township Public Works Department to get this submitted requests for the services. This development does propose public sewer, but it does have individual well points. I think the nearby main is, I would say, a mile from here, but there is existing sanitary main that's located on Victory Avenue. And in the previous application, there was, the main comes off the proposed lot 3 and 4, and through the existing lot 12 and 13 on the adjacent frontage of Victor Avenue, which would tie in. So that existing easement was made and filed in place for this future development and hold there today. So the sewer will continue going in that direction.
So which lots, oh, I see, it's between 12 and 13?
Yeah, it splits right down the middle, 1 foot easement. Regarding stormwater management, it's still, as previously approved, it's one surface basin. What happened from the original to now, there's been so many various stormwater management rules changing. I think we've had 3 in the last 5 years. So as part of this, and with Pineland's CMP rules, we have proposed, we didn't lose any lots. What we were able to incorporate is these new mechanical treatment devices, which is like focal point units. They're strategically designed to meet the new stormwater regs. And with Pineland's CMP, you have to meet now the total nitrogen load, which is 65%. So that's, and there's no BMP out there today that provides a total of 65%. You have to now use 2 BMPs and sears to make that. So what we have done is propose this focal points, which is kind of, and they straddle the adjoining property line with a 20-foot easement. And just think of it like a little dry well or a little like little basin, a bioretention basin that's going to be there. And underneath is like a small R-tank system that contains the smallest storm, the water quality storm. And any storm after that, it bypasses and goes into the big overall subsurface or surface basin. I'm sorry. And last thing I want to just touch on, the site lighting is intended to be Atlantic City Electric. They'll be we have it at 16-foot height mounting with 3,000 Kelvin, and the site has been professionally landscaped and meets all the ordinance requirements. One of the design waivers that we're asking, that was in Mr. Dockney's letter, is asking for street tree spacing. The ordinance has a maximum street tree spacing of 50 feet. We have some areas that vary between 50 and 90, specifically one that's right in here. And we asked for that design waiver because we have one of those needed focal point stormwater systems. And in order to place there, those street trees have to be offset so far apart because that whole system in itself is 60 foot long. So that's why we're kind of just trying to space the trees out equally. We have the total number of trees required, it's just different spacing. And another design waiver that I kind of glazed over was to permit a 40-foot cul-de-sac radius where the township permits 70-foot. 40 feet radius is permitted per the residential site improvement standards. We have no problem to submit it to the fire official and have their input, but what I've seen done in the past is they just don't want to see parking within that cul-de-sac because that now just restricts the space even more. So we would have no issue to provide no parking signs along the cul-de-sac to justify that design waiver. And that summarizes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Clarification, sorry.
Sure.
The no parking would just be in the bold area of
Correct.
the
Yes.
cul-de-sac, not the straightaway.
Correct.
Board have any questions for the gentleman?
Through the chair,
Go ahead.
Pam, through the to the applicant too. What he's suggesting for the stormwater management with the new regs, will that comply?
They've given us information that shows that it will comply, that it's been through Pinelands before, and so we have every anticipation. But we do, once it goes through Pinelands, if there's any changes to the plan, we do request that we be able to review and
Reserve
revise
the
our
right to-
report.
To adjust it? If
To
they have
adjust it
We have
accordingly.
to agree to it, because otherwise it won't meet the requirements, right?
Correct.
Right. The other, is there, and I heard what you said, but there's gonna be curbs, no sidewalk,
No, curb and sidewalk
a curb and sidewalk around,
around the
Okay.
entire development.
Thank
And the
you.
one thing I just wanted to touch upon about the stormwater is that, when it comes to Pinelands, like the certificate of filing, because it was brought up as, did we file a new application? There's no need to file a new application unless we alter the previous approval, because the certificate of filing doesn't expire and can be transferred to new landowners. So what happens, say, this project does receive preliminary approval or final approval, Pinelands gets notified, and then they'll request the same plan and review that consistent with the new stormwater rules. So it's almost like a checks and balances, and it gets
Right.
approved, it gets reviewed by both the township and both the state entity.
And so, like Pam said, you would agree that if for some reason it has to be changed to meet the requirements, you would adjust
Absolutely.
your plan to meet that, or it's state regulation, so,
Yeah, we reserve the right to review
Right.
and comment on it as well.
and then possibly change. The other issue, you're changing the end of the cul-de-sac from 70 to 40. Is
Well,
that what I understood?
The township ordinance requires 70. We're proposing 40, which was also previously approved. And it meets the New Jersey residential site improvement standards for this type of development. I know some areas like to increase it, but what happens if you follow the residential site improvement standards and say you want to put 70, you want to put 50, we have to notify the New Jersey Residential Site Improvement Standards Board to get an exception. So it's another step process. Another thing is if we did increase the size of this cul-de-sac, now that would eat more right-of-way width and decrease the lots of these, and then they would not conform. It'd be, it would probably be a bulk variance for the lot area. Yeah, 'cause some of these lots on the end are 27,551, so you extended 1 more feet, now they're undersized.
The only concern, were you gonna say something?
Yes, it's an example of where our ordinance is not consistent with the new RSIS standards.
Right.
40-foot is the required per RSIS standards. So our waiver from our 70 has been granted before because it doesn't conform to RSIS standards.
My concerns are, I drive around town, and when the trash guys have to go down, they have to back down the street, because when they get to the end, never mind about the fire trucks. I'm talking about something daily, weekly, that they can't drive down and turn around. They
And
have
you
to-
should-
I watch them do it, they
Yeah.
back all the way down, and then,
Are there cars that are usually parked on the cul-de-sac? I don't know.
I won't even say yes or no, because I didn't go that far to
Gotcha.
investigate, because I just see it.
Mm.
So would a normal sized trash truck be able to turn around in a 40-foot, according to the standards?
Well, they do have a turning template on there, I believe.
I do, I don't have a.
That's the only reason I bring it up, because I
It's
see,
on the design.
and that doesn't make for
Yeah,
a
they
safe.
need to do you know, a bunch of K-type turns at the end in order to get around, but they can maneuver it according to the turning template that they use.
Yeah, so we provide a circulation plan. You know what I mean? 20-foot radius, not first diameter.
Yeah, it's 80-foot diameter.
Now, for that side of the fire truck, in order to make that maneuver, they have to do a case.
Yeah, I wasn't more concerned about the fire truck. They always find a way. I think we all agree, they'll get down there and whatever they have to do. But the weekly thing is the trash truck, the recycling truck, I just see that.
I have no problem to provide a turning template for a trash truck.
Could we make he has to go to Public Works, right? Has to review this or no?
No.
No. That's my only concern. You know, I mean, if it could be easily resolved now, so we don't hear from Public Works, is that come
Yeah,
you gave us?
it would
How come
be
you gave us
helpful if
another
they-
one that we can't go down, you know?
It would be helpful if they provided a turning template for the trash truck, which is probably, if the fire truck can do it, the trash trucks can do it, if they take the time
Oh, I
to
would
do K
agree.
turns.
Okay, and maybe they just back down for convenience of not having to
It could
do all
be,
that at the
it could
end.
be, but, you know, as he mentioned, to defer, to go away from RSIS standards, it's a whole process to
Right.
get a municipal exception for that, and that you don't want to set that
And I think that's
precedent.
why they probably went to 70, the township, because they had feedback from Public Works.
Yeah, it's been there for quite a
Hoping and
while.
wishing that wouldn't be a problem, even snow plowing, what do they do at the end?
Yeah,
They can't push, they gotta push in, so it would be left at usually a big snow mound at the end. You know what I'm talking about, in the center,
yeah.
and then trucks can't get down there at all. There are things I've seen through the years, and I'm sure you've seen through the years, that are little things that
Yeah,
bother.
40 is the standard.
At least we addressed it, and there's really not much more we could do about it, that it wasn't addressed.
Right.
You know what I mean? Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'm in
Thank
favor.
you.
Thank you.
Dan. Anyone else before I move to our engineering planner?
Just a question, are you gonna allow, parking on both sides of the street? The next street over is 50-foot wide. Is it gonna be enough room, 30 feet wide, for if cars are parking on both sides for
Yeah,
traffic?
based on our size, a 30-foot carway does allow parking on both sides. It gives you 7 feet parking in each direction, and then you have still, I believe, 11 feet driveway width in both directions.
I just know that smaller streets, it's hard, like if you got oncoming traffic, if
Oh, yeah,
someone's coming in and
absolutely.
out. And especially if there's a lot of cars, there's not like a lot of room to hold off till the guy gets past you and so you can go.
Hmm.
So, just concerned.
But we, with the length of the driveways and the parking itself with the K-turn, there's sufficient room within the driveways to contain at least a minimum. I show it's all 3 cars, but it comes to 4 cars. It's almost like that user error. You can't control what the residents are gonna do, if they were gonna park out in the street or they're gonna park in their driveway.
Through the chair on that.
Go ahead, Dan.
The driveway will have a spot, I know there's gonna be a garage, obviously, and then what, wait, two car, you know, parking spot on the
Yep.
property? There'll be 2, right?
Yeah, depending on which orientation, I mean, this is just kind of like a template. So if it goes with this, it'll just be a single car drive, and then the width will be 20-foot wide to
It's
fit.
enough for 2 cars.
Enough
Oh,
for 2
not
cars.
even front to back, they'll be
Yeah.
side by side.
But if you have like a front loader, then the total drive will be 20.
Yeah, no,
Yep.
yeah, no, that they're side by side, not, you know, front to back.
Yep.
Is more inducive to someone parking in the driveway.
Yes. Yep.
So the sidecars are good.
Right, no, perfect.
All right, Dan.
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Anyone else? Let me just move on to our engineering planner. And if you have any additional stuff you want to add to this,
Yes.
go ahead. Just go ahead and pick up from where you want to pick up from.
Okay, under design and performance standards, to date, we have not received a preliminary environmental assessment. A preliminary environmental assessment should be submitted and contain all the information in 175-99.1. Testimony should be provided by the applicant. They have provided a response in their response letter, but if they could put it on the record as testimony, that would be as to why they are not providing one.
That's it?
Yeah,
that's
the only reason we're
There's,
asking.
there's more, I don't know whether you
All
want
right.
me to go through
Let's-
everything first or
We'll go
one
back.
at a
I can
time.
just quickly piggyback.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if Mr. Duffy remembers, but I inquired about the original Phase 1 assessment that could have been done with this application. And reviewing the resolutions, it doesn't show that it was waived, and it was deemed complete. So there might have been at that time, the Phase 1 was submitted. I know with your townships, what's the term? I guess keeping records dating that far back, you guys only keep just the plan itself, so any other reports and documents weren't kept. The one place that I haven't tried to put in an over request is Pines, to see, because that could have been one of the places that Phase 1 was submitted. But our justification to ask for that submission waiver is if there was a preliminary assessment submitted at that time, this property has remained vacant this entire time, so nothing has changed.
So,
Go ahead.
and this is a phase one from when?
It would have been around probably 2005 to 2006 when it was
So to
prepared.
get a phase one that would be 20-plus years old?
But there hasn't been anything.
Understood, but do the standards for a phase one, have the standards for phase one, the criteria or the regulations they review when doing a phase one changed in 20 years?
That I'm not familiar with.
Well, most likely they have. The one thing where phase one is considered more important to the application is if the property was formerly farmed. This
Sure,
is
for
a wooded
pesticide or
property.
insecticides.
Yeah, this is a wooded property, so it's in its natural state, so it's not as clear cut as to whether a phase one would be required or not.
There's never an orchard?
I don't believe so.
Yeah. That's my only question about the phase one. If it's a 20-year-old phase one, I get it, nothing's happened on the property. But if someone were doing a phase one today, would they be looking at different standards or different regulations to compare about? So let's hold on that.
So as proposed, as submitted, they're asking for a waiver of the environmental site assessment.
Okay.
That's it, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something
That's all right.
to
No
consider,
problem.
but we understand.
No, that's all.
Yep.
Pam?
Okay, under grading and filling, the applicant should provide testimony regarding the cut and fill balance of the site. We also have several more comments, 2 through 9, under section 5.2, which they have acknowledged and agreed to provide in accordance with their response letter, but if they could put testimony on the record as to the cut and fill balance of the site.
So 2 through 9, they're gonna be a will comply. What's
Yes.
with 1?
Yes.
Oh, that's asking for the testimony. Got it.
The testimony about the earthwork and the fund flow balance. So I did a quick analysis, which I can provide to your professionals. It's actually fairly balanced. It shows for a net fill of 124 cubic yards, which is roughly, I don't know, a truckload is 12 cubic yards, so you probably see, 12 truckloads with fill coming in. In regarding topsoil, we have an excess cut of 721. And I mean, that could be dispersed. I mean, I just estimated 6 inches to be cut and then 6 inches to be put back, so we can kind of disperse that and make it 8 inches. And by putting that, now you can kind of cut down on the actual fill required to bring to the site by putting the extra topsoil.
Could you repeat that number for the topsoil?
Sorry, topsoil is cut of 721 cubic yards.
Under lighting, we have comments, 1 through 6E. They have acknowledged those comments and agreed to provide. Testimony has been provided that they're gonna have Atlantic City Electric supply lighting. they should provide some additional testimony as to additional lights that may be necessary based on the foot candles required. And they should provide, testimony that there's a minimum foot candle of 1.0 over the full area of the intersection.
So unlike any township, Monroe Township has pretty strict lighting standards when it comes to intersections and just around the adjacent property lines. We only showed the ice lux for the design, so we have no problem in providing the foot candles readings and analyzing those intersections to make sure that they comply with the code. So during our compliance submission, we'll make sure and verify that it meets the township standards.
Anything else, Pam?
Yes, under 5.4
Go ahead.
streets, Sunny Hill Avenue meets the definition of a local sub-collector street, which requires a 60-foot right-of-way. An additional 5-foot right-of-way easement should be dedicated to Monroe Township, which they've agreed to provide. They've also provided testimony that they will revise the distance between the curb and the sidewalk to 4 foot. They've agreed to revise the plan to show 30-foot radiuses at the intersections with Sunny Hill Avenue. And we've already discussed the 40-foot radius on the cul-de-sac. And I believe they've received documentation of the name of the street and as proposed, if it will be accepted by OEM and the tax assessor, they'll provide documentation.
So is everything in 5.4 will comply?
Yes, except for the 40-foot, which they needed the waiver for.
Right. And they need that waiver because of the RF.
Because of IRS standards, RSIS standards.
Yes.
Now, I won't go into the myriad of comments under stormwater management. We've got 25, but they're very detailed, oriented comments. So, they've reviewed them. They had a meeting with our office. They have agreed to provide the detail that we need to our satisfaction, and in accordance with any Pinelands approval that they get, they'll share with us for review and approval as well. Under general comments, we have 5 comments. They've agreed to provide those additional items that we've asked to be added to the plan. So and they also acknowledged that there will be an HOA proposed for the subdivision. Under item 7, fees, contributions, and obligations, they've acknowledged them and agreed to provide. And that would conclude my report.
Through the chair,
Go ahead, Dan.
and the attorney, the HOA, they're gonna take care of the basin?
So I think that's a good question.
That's why I asked it.
Rick?
Go ahead.
Yeah, that is the intent.
You'll be taking care of the basin. Okay, and then we went through all that list, but you are gonna carve out the phase 1 waiver,
Well,
right?
I think before you vote, you need a larger discussion about that.
Right.
As to whether or not,
Yeah, so it just doesn't get caught up in the rest, and
Right.
we waive it, and then here we have an issue later on.
right, I mean, we can have that conversation now. See, it would seem to me
Yeah.
that
Go
at
ahead.
a minimum, we ought to have the old phase 1. We know that there was an old phase 1, but it doesn't sound like anybody's seen it, so we don't really know what we're approving, right? So, at a minimum, it would seem that we have to find the original phase 1, and it has to meet with the satisfaction of your staff. If they can't find it, I do, you could still waive that requirement for phase 1, but that would be an unusual thing.
Yeah.
To approve a major subdivision without a phase 1, without any
Correct.
phase 1 for your staff to review.
Not only if they find the phase 1, that it meets the standards of
Yes.
today, that they're not that, Pam would say, wait, the standard is
Yes, my-
20 years, it's a lot of big issues.
Yes, you'd have to find the old phase 1 and would have to meet the satisfaction of your professionals.
Yeah.
And if it didn't, they would need to.
Then they'd have to, so I guess they would have to agree.
Or
Well,
not.
we're not
You
gonna
can
give
make
them
a
the waiver.
condition. Right,
We're
right,
not gonna give them the waiver.
right. I mean, let's,
Go ahead, Ed.
I think it would be good to hear from Chris. I think the other sort of elephant in the room is whether or not this is preliminary or preliminary final. But let's hear the rest of Chris's testimony and figure out what other gaps need to be filled in, if any.
Pam, do you have any additional, or we're gonna go into this phase
Yeah, I
one?
don't believe that final can be granted until we have stormwater buttoned up.
Yeah, and my question to Pam on that issue was gonna be, your letter begins, it's a request for preliminary approval.
That's correct, that's
And-
what the application said.
And you evaluated it against the preliminary standards.
Exactly.
Right.
And through the chair, wouldn't that wrap
Go
up the
ahead.
phase 1 too, at the same time?
Sure, we could have the
So in
phase.
the final, it should have been
Right.
hashed out, either we got the plan or we don't, and we're gonna go to the new plan.
I mean, it looks like it's a very relatively clean plan. I
Great.
don't think there's a
I
lot to
agree.
it for lift, but it would be unusual for the board to grant preliminary final at the same time. It would be unusual for you to grant preliminary final. The number of stormwater comments are more than you would usually ask an applicant to clean up for consistency,
Yes.
and we have a phase one. But
Okay.
let's hear what Chris has to say.
Chris, why don't you go ahead and do your report?
Sure.
And after that, if anybody on the board has any questions of Pam or Chris, do that before we
Report dated
finish
March
up.
24th of this year. Not much for me to go over. This is, as their attorney pointed out, essentially a by right subdivision in terms of the zoning and the bulk standards. Everything proposed meets all the minimum requirements of the RG, the Regional Growth Moderate Residential District. All the lots are the appropriate size, density, meets everything. The footprints for the homes, which I assume are sort of hypothetical at this point, or maybe won't be built exactly that way. Everything meets all the setbacks. There are no variances required. There's one design waiver, which is for the spacing of the shade trees along the frontage of, is it Mary Duffy Drive, you're calling it, or Lane, Mary Duffy Drive? But it does otherwise appear that they have the right number of trees, just the spacing is a little off. I really have no issue with that. The standard for reviewing a design waiver, unlike a variance, there's not really any positive or negative criteria. It just has to be demonstrated that what they're proposing is essentially adequate and suitable or appropriate given the context of the situation, and isn't really a substantial departure from the overall intent of the code when you're considering the entirety of the project. I have no objection to that. One item in terms of landscaping, they are removing, going over the survey, it looks like 21 specimen trees. I don't think you have provided a tree replacement plan. There are, I think, 50-something trees being proposed, so it looks like they would satisfy the requirements, but the requirements are based on the size of the trees coming down, so do you have any objection to just providing that calculation?
We can add that.
Looks like everything will be fine, and if they're short a tree, you'll add a tree or two here or there.
No problem.
Okay, and then our landscape architects in reviewing had about 5 or 6 comments about revising details. Have you reviewed our letter?
Yes.
And do you have any objection to any of those revisions or details? Okay, that's everything I have. That, like you said, this is essentially a by right application, same thing was approved 20 years ago, and completely meets all the requirements of your zoning ordinance at least. And then I defer to Pam and the fire department in terms of circulation issues of the size of the cul-de-sac or stormwater management, and then the phase one.
Through the chair, I have a question.
Go
The
ahead.
shade tree is gonna be between the sidewalk and the curb, or on the people's?
I believe they are proposing it's still within the right of way, but I believe it's closer to the house than the sidewalk rather than in that 3 to 4 foot strip. And that's, I mean, in a more urban setting, it'd typically be in that grass strip in between the sidewalk and the curb, but the trees generally, they survive much better when they're closer to the house than they are. So it's just
Are we gonna have some, let's say the homeowner doesn't want the tree, but they have to take care of the tree and doesn't want the tree. We've had problems like that where they say, I don't want this tree.
Well, my understanding
Do we have
is
a remedy for?
if the tree is on their property rather than on the right of way, they have every right to remove it if they want. They just have to come get a permit. If the tree is within the right of way, I believe, like you said, they would be required to maintain that tree or at least ensure that it doesn't, the root structure doesn't.
Well, I
scrape
don't like the
sidewalk.
tree on the right, between the sidewalk and the curb, because that only turns into problems. The tree's gonna be on the homeowner's front lawn.
Yeah, that's how.
They could
right of-
provide a shade tree easement along the frontage, along the right of
They did?
way. They could provide a shade tree easement, I don't see one on the plan.
What, to install trees between the sidewalk and the curb?
No,
No, on the other
you
side.
go
On the
outside
other
of the
side.
right of way.
On the other side.
And once it's in an easement, it's protected,
Uh,
typically.
I think his comment is that
it opens up a problem.
It becomes an issue of if the homeowners don't want to maintain the tree, then they're responsible for a tree that they don't want.
Right, so the homeowner would have the primary responsibility. You could condition that the HOA has a secondary responsibility to ensure it. If you're gonna put an easement, you leave the easement run to the benefit, I think have it run to the benefit of the HOA to make sure that if the property owner fails to maintain that tree, the HOA can step, so the town's not stepping in.
There's what I'm trying to avoid, because we have had, believe me, numerous problems. And where it gets into a big dispute that I don't want this tree, it's my property. So, as long as it's being handled by the HOA, the township doesn't get drawn in on it.
Trying to look into the landscaping plan, is the tree within the street right away, or would it be on the
It's on the
individual properties?
It's on people's properties.
Then, Frank, I'll defer to the board on whether or not you'd want to see an easement to protect the trees, or if you would just allow, the trees would be planted at the time of the subdivision, everything be constructed, but then, somebody moves in, buys the house, a year later, they decide, I really don't like that tree, it would be up to them, they could take it down if they wanted.
As long as we address it.
Yeah, you all right?
Way or the other.
I mean, my personal recommendation, I'm a bit of a tree hugger, so I would say, yeah, they can remove the tree if they plant 10 more, but I might be a little bit excessive there.
Would the HOA, they won't be enforcing that, not the township zoning officer?
That'd be up to however you want to
You can do it either way.
phrase that condition. You could leave it as is, where they can remove the trees if they want. You could ask for an easement, which would essentially be an extension of the right-of-way. And then within that easement would be the same, similar to the way the property owner is supposed to take care of the sidewalk and make sure that is ADA accessible. The trees would be that way, but if you don't want them to have to be responsible for the trees, you can leave it as is.
So I don't know what the township's easement agreements are as it relates to stormwater basins, right? But you can anticipate, just like we're gonna require the stormwater basin to be maintained by the HOA, and that document usually has to be reviewed by the township's attorney, and it can give the municipality the authority to enforce it if the HOA does not. Could step in and do it.
We have a suggestion.
Sure.
Yeah.
That as part of the homeowners association documents, that each lot owner is responsible for maintaining the tree. They can't just unilaterally take it out. We could also put language in there, because trees die, things die, whether it's neglected or not. Sometimes it just doesn't take, but that they would be obligating themselves to replace that tree if it happened.
I think that's fine.
There you go. As long as the HOA is going to be responsible. Good.
All right?
Thank you.
Well, I would prefer not to make it the HOA's responsibility, that it would pursuant to the documents within the HOA, that the homeowner obligates themselves to do that.
Right.
And I don't think it's really equitable to put this, one person's headache on everybody, if he decides, I'm taking the tree out.
Who enforces it?
That's what I asked.
I get it's the homeowner's obligation to do X, Y, and Z, but if the owner, just like who enforces the
Well, the
maintenance?
question is, well, then who would police it?
Probably nobody until somebody calls a
That's
complaint.
it.
Until somebody calls a complaint, but the HOA ought to have the authority to enforce if there's a requirement. Right, I mean, if there's a requirement, an HOA may have like an aesthetic requirement, that your facade has to meet certain standards, all sorts of things like that are in HOAs. And it's the homeowner's obligation to abide by those HOA requirements, and it's the HOA that can step in and can enforce them if they're not. I would have the HOA enforcing it, have the right to enforce it, then the town
I got a
stepping in and
question.
enforcing it.
Are we trying to dictate what the homeowners association rules are here, or?
No, but if there's a requirement that's
It was only a suggestion, that was it.
I mean, I'm under the personal opinion, put the tree in, homeowner doesn't want it, it's their tree, let them deal with it. I don't think we have to headache ourselves with all these details.
That's the way I feel. I don't know
I
why
agree.
I don't know why we're arguing over, or debating over somebody, whether they want a tree or don't want a tree, or.
It's hypothetical.
Has to keep the tree in there.
Because they're asking for the tree to be there, and other developments have done it, and the homeowner, I agree with what the gentleman said, it should be up to them, but then it's not. They call the township and say, they took the tree out, we want
Yeah.
you to tell them to put the tree back in.
I love trees as much as the next person, I'm a tree hugger too.
Right.
I'd love to see the trees there. If it dies, take it out, let the homeowner take it out. Whatever, if they don't want it, take it out.
Through the attorney, why is this even part of this plan?
Well, because the ordinance requires the trees.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
the
there-
subdivision
there's your
ordinance
answer.
requires some shade
Well,
trees.
you put the tree in there to begin with, and then let the homeowner decide after the fact.
And the trees will be there. Will it be there 30 years from now?
Takes a lot of
All right.
time and effort and money to take a tree out, so if they're that dedicated to taking trees out, let them take it out.
All right, do you have anything else, Chris?
No, that's everything in my report, thank you.
Any of our board members down this end have any question for our planner, engineer, or applicant?
So, Mr. Chairman, I think we ought to have a discussion about how we're gonna handle it as only a preliminary or preliminary and final. It's clear that,
Well, the township is going to be the one to look back on this thing with, if it's 20 years old, then it has to be the applicant, whatever you guys decide, and then we'll have to make a final decision on which way we're going to go.
well, what I'm
Go ahead.
suggesting is the applicant willing to, I mean, I don't think it was advertised as preliminary and final. The application itself has a note that says we won't accept preliminary and final at the same time. Our engineer reviewed it as a preliminary. So just for the clarity of the record, are we willing to treat this as a preliminary application? Because otherwise, we're probably gonna vote on preliminary and then vote to deny final, which I wouldn't wanna make that record ugly. Yeah. We can treat it as final. We can treat it as preliminary. That's fine.
So they agree? Yep. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Everybody understand? They agree
Yep.
what our solicitor just talked about. All right. Chris, you have anything else or no?
No,
Okay.
I'm gonna open up to the public to see what they think about the trees.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. I need a motion to open.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Anyone from the public want to comment on this application before the board?
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, I guess we're at that point, right?
Great. So if the board is inclined to make a member of the board is inclined to make a motion to approve the application, I would recommend that the application or the motion include the following conditions, and this would be a motion for preliminary approval, major subdivision preliminary approval. That the plans are updated to the staff's satisfaction to address the stormwater comments in the engineering review letter. That the plans be updated to include a turning radius, template turning radius to demonstrate that fire trucks and trash trucks can adequately maneuver through the cul-de-sac. That the plans be updated to the staff's satisfaction to provide additional information regarding the cut and fill analysis. That the tree replacement plan be, that the landscaping plan be revised regarding the issue of tree replacement to the satisfaction of the board staff. That in general, the landscaping will be updated to the satisfaction of the board staff. Now, with regard to the phase one, I would recommend that the board either require that the applicant provide the original phase one from 2000 and whatever, and that phase one meet the satisfaction of the board staff, or if it can't be found, or if it's deficient, that the applicant come forward and produce an updated phase one.
That's it?
Those are the conditions that my chicken scratch.
There you go.
Anything else anyone else have anything else to add to the motion that our solicitor just made?
I'm sorry, I have.
He-
He didn't make a
I know, he didn't make, he just
Yeah, the
gave
first
the
thing is they're gonna
information.
update their plans for stormwater. They're
Okay.
also gonna provide us with any Pineland approvals for our review as well.
Okay. I need a
I
motion.
make a motion to approve with the standards that the attorney has, conditions that the attorney has listed.
Second.
Roll call. On the motion.
Mr. Kozak?
It's a good preliminary plan, and with the conditions that the solicitor has suggested, I think it'll be able to be finalized once they go through all the conditions. They agree, so yes.
That's good.
Ms. Fox?
Yes, as per the solicitor's recommendations, I also do approve.
Mr. Giacomucci?
Yes.
Mr. Hessel?
Yes.
Mr. Laughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Kurz?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, preliminary was approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Where are we at? Yeah, you're right. I need a motion to open the public.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Anyone from the public want to comment on anything at all? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public portion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Approval of the minutes,
April 7th.
April 7th, 2025. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No report, that happens to ask the mayor.
Mayor's not here.
That's right.
Yes, Mr. Kurz.
I know, yeah, I know.
Do you have any reports?
No, ma'am. No report. No report, okay. Amy's got to keep me straight once in a while. All right.
Adjournment?
What?
Adjournment.
Oh, adjournment, yes, I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There is no opposed on that. All right. I want to